Hello YouTube, welcome to my new series of videos which is all about DJing with Ableton Live, specifically DJing with Ableton Live and Ableton Push, using that as our controller. Kind of what we're doing here you can use with, you would be able to do actually with other controllers, launch pads and the like, but I'm going to be doing it with Live. We're going to be looking at some MIDI mapping and so on. So yeah, I guess it would work with any controller that you've got to hand, but we're going to get into using the controller and MIDI mapping in later lessons. A disclaimer first of all, I'm not a DJ, okay? Basically I'm a producer. I know people get the two confused, but it's not difficult. DJ plays other people's songs, a producer makes songs. So, you know, in simple terms, that's it. So learn the difference, people. But anyway, sorry, I'm going off on one again. Right, first thing we're going to do is just sort of looking at in this verse lesson, just importing some songs and a little bit on warping in Ableton Live, so we've got everything nicely time stretched together. Now, I know people are going to go off on one and say, "Oh, you've warped the song, so there's no beat matching. You're not a proper DJ." Blah 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 blah. Yeah, whatever. Okay, this is a different way of DJing. Okay, it's just a different tool and a different way of doing it. If you want to go and learn about beat matching and DJing with vinyl and whatever, go and watch a different tutorial, because you're not going to get that from this. What I'm looking at is how we can use Ableton to DJ, and as we're not beat matching, which, yeah, okay, if you want to be in inverted commas, proper DJ is obviously a very important skill to learn. I'm kind of looking at ways we can make more of a performance without beat matching, so using effects, etc. And kind of how I would sort of DJ with Ableton Live is sort of very similar to how I would play my live sets. My live sets are almost kind of like DJing with stems of a song, but using loads of hardware as well. So anyway, let's get on with it. So we're going to start off with a completely blank project. Ignore this track here because this is my microphone track, just so you can hear what I'm saying. I think normally the default project usually has something like 2 audio tracks and 2 MIDI tracks. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to try and emulate a DJ controller, which will normally have 2 decks, might have 4 decks, might have 6 decks, but we're just going to kind of do it on 2 decks at the moment. So you want to get rid of everything apart from 2 audio tracks. So if you've not got, let's just get rid of that one as well. Okay, so if you've only got 1 audio track for whatever reason, easiest thing is just in here, right click, and you can choose insert audio track, or just do the shortcut to Control T, which is what I've just done there. And then we'll line them up. We'll just drag that out a little bit. Okay, so that's if you need to put a new audio track in. So we're going to rename these. Control R, just highlight the name at the top. We're going to call this one Deck A, and Control R, and this one Deck B. Okay, so there are our 2 DJ decks. So we're going to add some tracks to these decks. I'm going to use, just to start off with, I'm probably want to get a bit further into it. I'm going to do it with some of my tracks. But for now, I'm just going to throw a few of these tracks in, which I think are from the Paul Oakenfold DJ box thing. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to drag in, actually, let's just do it a different way. I'm just going to get rid of those. Because what I'm going to do is just show you how to add a folder in your section down here, just in case you don't know that. Because obviously, if you've got loads of folders with loads of different tracks in that you want when you're DJing, you don't want to be kind of minimizing that down and searching around all your folders and stuff. So you can stick them all into your places section here. So you do is click on this bit here, add folder, and I've got this folder in my DJing with Ableton Live folder. I open that up. Go down. And I'm going to put that as DJ tracks. I'm going to stick that in there. And that will appear down here in a second, hopefully. Come on. Just thinking about it. There we go. So all you would then need to do is just click on that, and it will show you all your tracks in this section of the browser here. So I'm going to. So if you click on the track, as long as you've got this headphone icon lit up down here, you can preview it. So you can see which tracks are which. So I'm just going to stick the first, there's 10 tracks on this, I'm going to stick the first 5 in deck A and the second 5 in deck B. So we've got 10 tracks in there. I'm not necessarily going to use those. The reason I'm probably going to get, when I get further into this, I'll do it with some of my tracks, is for copyright purposes, because I could, if you're playing other people's songs without permission on YouTube, you can get into trouble with it. So I'll only be playing little clips of these, so I should hopefully get away with it. So let's just double click on this first track here. Now I've got it set at the moment to not actually automatically warp the tracks as they come in. That's in the preferences, which is in this section. So it's down here. So long samples, I've got it turned to off. And I'm going to use the complex mode as my standard one. I'm leaving short samples, we'll do it anyway. But yeah, I got that turned off just to give me a bit of flexibility when I first bring it in. Because what we need to do is look closely at warping and what all that means. So if I just put the metronome on, and I'm just going to play that track. Okay, if I speed the metronome up, I'll slow it down. Okay, hopefully you can straight away hear that that metronome is completely out of time with the track, and when I'm speeding the tempo up and slowing it down, the track's not following, because we've not warped it down here. So let's have a look at warping. So warping is the term that Ableton uses to time stretch a song so that it will play back at the speed of the project tempo here. So if we want this song to play back at 116 beats per minute or play back at 130 beats per minute, it would need to be warped. So it kind of stretches the audio and it does some weird and wonderful magical things inside and allows us to do that. For starting getting used to warping, it is easiest to do it with electronic music, electronic dance music, because most of it is made by machines. In fact, pretty much all of it's made by machines. So you've not got any, you might have, but you might have some acoustic instruments, but mostly it's by machines, and it's all what's called quantized, so it's the same speed all the way through. If you try and warp, like, I don't know, get an old Led Zeppelin song from the 70s or 80s, that would be a lot harder, because that is recorded as a live band and there's going to be slight pushes and pulls in the tempo. But when we're dealing with stuff created by machines, it does make it a lot easier. So I'm going to use I'm just going to go on the complex setting for now. Depending on which version of Live you've got, you might not have all these settings. If you've got, I think the light version or the intro version, you won't have complex and complex pro, I don't think. So if you've not got those, I would use the beats setting, because that will do the job just as well. In fact, let's do it on beats now, because I know everybody will have that, assuming that you've got a copy of Live, of course. So we're going to choose this first track here, this We Found Love, version of We Found Love by Layout. So we've double clicked on it and we've opened up our clip view at the bottom. Now if we click on Warp, you will see that we now get this grid across the top with these numbers on. So these are basically counting the beats and the bars for us. So if you zoom in, you'll gradually start to see more numbers appearing. So there we can see beat 1, beat 2, beat 3. If we zoom in a bit closer, should just say for zooming, if you're not sure, what you do, how to do that is you put your cursor above, just on the numbers here, and you'll see we get that little hand with a magnifying glass. And you click and pull towards you, we'll zoom in, and push away from you, we'll zoom out. So as I zoom in, you can see we've now got more numbers. We've got 1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. So all of this is still bar 1. So there's bar 1, beat 1. There's bar 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. So if I play the track from the start, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's okay. It's still not warped properly, so it's not going to be in time. If I zoom in a bit further, this brings us up the 8th note subdivisions. Okay, so that's 1.1.3. So that would be like 1 and 2 and. If you know about 8ths and 16ths now to count them, this will make sense. If you're going even further, we will get even more subdivisions, and that gives us the breakdown of the 16th notes. For our purposes, we just want the beats, really. So I'd zoom in there like that. So what we've got to do is we need to really be finding sort of the first beat of the song, or a beat 1 somewhere. It doesn't necessarily always have to be on the very first beat of a song. You might have like a big whooshy long build-up or something, so you might want to warp it from a bit further into the song. This one does start straight away with a kick drum, which is going to be this thing here. So this down at the bottom is our visual representation of the waveform of the song, and as you work with these more and more, you will get to know how to read these. You'll be able to see where kick drums are and snare drums, because they're the bits that we're mainly sort of looking for for warping. Remember, in most dance music, the kick drum is going to play on all 4 beats, on 1, 2, 3, and 4, and your snare drum is usually on what's called the backbeat, on beat 2 and beat 4. So we can pretty much see that this is the start of the song, and you can see what happens is when you click warp, Ableton will analyze the file, and it will put these little markers, transient markers on here, where it kind of hears that there is a definite sort of sound, usually the drums, to kind of latch on to these things here. So we can click on these, which I'll show you in a second. Just one thing while I think, just go back to the folder where my songs were. Now, if you go into this folder, you will suddenly see these are all the original MP3 files, and we've also now suddenly got all of these files here. These are the Ableton analysis files. Okay, so it creates these when you drag them in, and it contains all the warp information, so you only have to warp a song once. So don't delete those. If you look in your MP3 files and think, what the hell are all these? Leave them there, otherwise you're going to have to warp all your tracks again. Okay, so just in case you're wondering what that means. So we're going to start with it here. So what we're going to do is we're going to double click on that transient marker there, and you can see we get this in the skin I'm using the disco skin. It's an orange block. If you're in the default setting, it's a yellow block, if I remember rightly. And what we're going to do is we need to tell Ableton Live that that is the first beat of the song. So we're going to right click on there, and we're going to set 1.1.1 here. Okay, so when we press play now, it's going to start playing from that point. Originally, it was playing from that point. And if I zoom right in, you can see we had this little bit of silence before the sound started. So if I press play now, okay, you can see it's now starting right from that first beat. But if you're listening to that, hopefully you can hear it's still out of time, because we've not fully warped it yet. Because if you think that, you can see there that that is generally going to be beat 2, and it's coming just after the beat, and that was just after the beat, and that's drifting further away from the beat as we do it, because we've not told it where to warp it from. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click again, and we're going to choose warp from here straight. So that's a good one to choose when you know it's a song that's exactly the same tempo all the way through. When I click on that, look what happens to the waveform below. Zip, okay, it kind of squishes it in, and we can see now all these transient markers are now lined up on the grid. So we can hear that that is now in time with the metronome. If we slow it down, speed it up. Okay, so that track is now going to follow whatever we set the master tempo at. So once you've warped a track, what you want to do is just play it at different points of the song with the metronome on, just to check that it has warped it correctly all the way through. And the way to just start it playing at different points within the song is if you put your cursor here, you'll get this little speaker icon, and then just click on various bits. That sounds fine. Okay, so even right at the end, we're still bang on with the metronome. That's great. You may occasionally come across a song that has a lot of weird stuff going on in the middle that makes it really hard to warp. Mainly, to keep things simple when you're DJing, you want to make sure that the intro, kind of the first section of the song, is correctly warped, and the outro is correctly warped, because they're the bits where you're going to be mixing 2 songs together. If it goes a little bit out of time in the middle bit, it doesn't matter. It's that beginning bit and end bit. If you're really struggling with one, work on your intros and outros. So I'm just going to show us an example of this one, because I know this one does something weird. And you've got to just do a little bit of a slight adjustment on the warping. So I'm going to warp it again, first of all, here. But again, we can see we've got here a bit of silence before it starts. What I would also recommend doing before I do on that is up here is just find out the BPMs of your tracks, which you can easily do, just quick search online. And I think if I remember rightly, that one's 123 beats per minute. So what I would do is I would rename that one. Okay, once you know the BPM, I would do at the beginning 123 BPM. Okay, and then actually, as we've got plenty of space, you can actually drag these all the way out so you can see Let's get that a bit bigger, look, so you can see the whole song title. There we go. So all you do to do that is put your cursor at the end of the bar until we get that bracket thing, and you can drag it out. So then we can see the BPMs of all our songs. So you can arrange these clips in speed order if you want, or you can say, well, I'm playing that at 123 beats per minute. The next track might be like 135 beats per minute. So you think, well, I wouldn't mix from that into that one. It just gives you a good bit of organisation for knowing your BPMs. Right, so this track, again, we can see we've got this bit of silence. So here is our first transient marker. Let's just get rid of that. I'm going to double click on that to create that, and I'm going to set 111 here. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go warp from here straight. And again, you can see it's adjusted the audio. So let's just have a play through a few little bits of this. Sorry, wrong track. Okay, so far so good. It's sounding all right. Okay. So up to there we're fine. Now we've got a section here we can see, obviously there's not a lot happening in here. We're going to have some sort of instrumental section with no drums. That can sometimes cause an issue. We can see here we've got a bit of a break and the track is going to come back in here, which does look pretty much spot on with that bar 108. Let's have a listen. Yep, that's fine. Right, now there is a bit where it goes weird. So we've got this big build up here. Now here you can hear it's going out of time. Now the middle section of the song there is probably not. It's dragging a bit there. It's probably not essential. Okay, because you would. It's unlikely you would mix that in with anything else at this point in the song. And if you did, there's not a strong drum beat in it, so you could probably get away with it. But if we go a bit further down here, okay, so to this section, listen here. Okay, we got this bit where it kind of has this glitchy sort of slow down thing, and it's completely out of time with the metronome. This marker here, this transient, sorry, here, should be starting here on that beat, okay, on that beat 1 of 144. Now, what I could do is just, if I grabbed hold of that and put a marker there and dragged it along, what it's going to do, it's going to drag the rest of the song with it, which means everything else before it is now going to be out of time. So I'm just going to click Control Z to undo that. So what we've got to do is we've got to kind of anchor the rest of the song. And all we would do is just on any of these bits here, I'm going to put another warp marker. Okay. So if I stretch that now, it's only going to stretch out this little bit of audio. So if I stretch that out to there, okay, and you're not going to notice the difference in the sound in that. So if you listen to this bit, okay, so you can hear we're now bang on with the metronome again. Now we can check the rest of the track. Okay, and that's fine. That one is now okay to play. The end bit from there is fine. The first section is fine. We're perhaps losing the timing a little bit in here. Obviously, you could go in and do a similar sort of thing to what we did here on this bit if you really wanted to get that timing right, but it's not a problem. So the rest of the tracks I think are pretty straightforward if I remember from playing those through in the past. But I'd like to say I'm not going to use these for the purposes of this. I'm going to use my own tracks because obviously there's not going to be copyright problems with that. And if nothing else, it's a good bit of shameless publicity for my own tunes that you can then all go out and buy. So really what you want to do is get all your tracks in and then go through every track. It's a bit of a painstaking process to start with, to warp them all. A lot of them are pretty quick. Let's give you a quick example. Let's try this one. Let's just do one more. So again, zoom right in. There's beat 1, set 111 here. Warp it straight. Let's give it a play. Let's turn that deck off. See, most of them, I would think 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 songs that you do this kind of music are that quick. It's basically 2 or 3 clicks of a button. But obviously, if you've got to warp 100 tracks, it's going to take you a while. But the good news is, once you've done it, you only have to do it once. You don't have to do it again. So, I mean, these would kind of work quite well now together. Let's, if I play kind of get sort of towards the end of this one. Now, just very quickly, just talk about clip launching. I always, generally, for anything I do, I leave this on 1 bar. Okay, so this is our kind of the way our clips launch. So when it's on 1 bar, it will launch on beat 1 of the next bar. So if I'm playing this, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4. If I click on this clip, which one did I want? I can't remember. Is that what I want? Let's just delete that so I know which one I'm doing. I'm going to stick that on there. So if I click to start this one on beat 2, it will wait until beat 1 of the next bar to start. So if I just show you what I mean. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, bang. And then that's going to start playing. Okay. And you can hear that they're both playing exactly in time with each other. So no beat matching required. So don't go off on one at me about beat matching. I've already ranted about that today. So what you could do then, and let's play this at the end. Sorry, just stop that one. So, I mean, without doing any volume fades or anything, what I could do is get towards the last bar of this, and then start this one when this one finishes. So 1, 2, sorry, try again. I'm on the wrong clip, you muppet. That's the one we want. So 1, 2, 3. We're going to wait till I get right to that last beat. I'm going to start it. The next track will start on bar 141 of this one. Just got to make sure we get the correct bar. So I'm hoping not to play too much of this, that I get done for copyright. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bang. New track straight in. Okay, so in its simplest terms, if you want to let a whole song play through and just do it on the end bit like that, you can. Obviously, we want to look at doing volume fades, which is difficult because you can't turn the volume down of that and the volume up of that with a mouse on a computer, which is where we need a hardware MIDI controller, which is what's going to come up in the next video. And I'm going to show you how we can start to use Ableton Push and map some of our controllers to that. So thanks for watching. I hope you found this one interesting. If you've got any comments, leave them in the box below. Please like, subscribe, usual stuff. And please don't shout at me for not doing beat matching. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.